Good day. Today is the 27th day of July already, 2021. Very hot and humid here in Virginia. I hope it's nice where you're at. I'm going to go do a run in a little while. Say a prayer that I don't drop. Most of my videos, every day what I do is I look at USA Jobs. I look at headlines to see if there's anything that's relevant. And some days there is and some days there isn't. But there's some things that are always relevant. This one's going to be on, why not to join federal law enforcement, or why not to join law enforcement in general. And then I'm going to follow it up with reasons why you might want to join law enforcement. So everything that I say pertains to some of you, and some of what I say pertains to all of you. How's that? So we'll get started. Why not to join federal law enforcement or law enforcement in general? Here's the first reason. Number one, you're going to be treated differently than everyone else. You're going to be held to a different standard. Now, if you have any doubts about this, just look at the recent arrest report about a DEA agent who went to the Capitol. Now, if you had gone to the Capitol not as a law enforcement officer, do you think anyone would have given a rat's butt? The answer is no. Look at the recent case about the FBI agent who did some bizarre things and perhaps assaulted his wife. National news. And I helped him make national news. But he was already in national news. Okay? Whenever you do something wrong as a law enforcement officer, it's going to be shouted from the rooftops. Whereas if you screw up as a civilian, unless it's really, really bad, nobody cares. Okay? The second reason, if you can't figure this one out, maybe you're not smart enough. Lack of support. Look at our mayors. I'm not just talking about the usual pressure groups that exist in neighborhoods that come running out and ambulance chasing attorneys who show up and do press conferences. Now we're talking about mayoral offices, state attorneys, district attorneys, state attorneys general, state governors, and people even in the Justice Department and perhaps the heads of agencies. There's going to be a lack of support for what you do. You're not going to be given the benefit of the doubt. If your career or their career is at stake, or if they can benefit their career, you're going to get thrown under the bus. And the general public at this point, isn't predisposed to help you. Okay. The third thing, you probably think I would say danger. And there is an element of danger, obviously, in law enforcement, but really it's stress. And the stress really is a result of the danger. You're going from one high stress thing to another, or from a very slow thing where you're sitting waiting for something to happen, and then it happens. And when you couple this, with the requirements that you do all kinds of paperwork, prepare cases for court, you can't make a mistake, and then your family. Because you're working long hours, you're working weekends, you're working nights, you don't always get proper sleep, you don't get proper nutrition. The stress-related illness rate is very high. The divorce rate in law enforcement, very high. I'm sorry to say the suicide rate, very high. Stress is a huge reason. The fourth reason, low status, and by that I don't mean really low status, but stop and think about it. How many presidents have been former law enforcement officers? I can't think of any. How about governors? Very, very few. How about billionaires? No, not too many of those either. And you will experience condescension from prosecutors, from judges. Condescension means they're talking down to you. Now, it's more from the male prosecutors, the men, than the women. The women are actually kind of friendly, I found, in my younger days. But the men, no. They look down their nose at you because you didn't go to law school. Okay? So is law enforcement a profession? A lot of them don't regard it as such. They regard politics as a profession, the legal profession as a profession, the medical profession as a profession, or something else as a profession, but they tend not to look at law enforcement as a profession. They tend to look at you as if you were kind of like a blue-collar worker. Doesn't matter if you're in federal or state or local law enforcement. Low status. The fifth thing, And this you can pretty much see. They hate you. Well, who's they? Well, a lot of people hate you. Okay? A lot of people don't like law enforcement. Okay? The only time law enforcement shows up is when something bad is happening. This applies to federal, state, local law enforcement. So a lot of people just don't like you. A lot of people have had bad experiences with law enforcement, and they're going to put it off on you. And a lot of people just really aren't in your corner. So those are good reasons not to join law enforcement.